And as an 8-year-old, nobody explained to you and me about the war. And then it was all over that day and everyone was jumping about and excited. Well, my name is Jan Martin and I was born Jan Scott. My mother and father, pretty wonderful. My dad was a lifesaver and then the Air Force and went into the war, and Mum was a home person, had to be in those days. And I have a brother who's 7 years younger than me, John, and I think my home life was pretty good, except we moved a lot during the war things. We had to move lots of places, so I went to lots of schools, which I found very hard, didn't like it. I was born at Newcastle, and I think the first school I went to was at Kerrie, and then we moved back to Newcastle. I went to 3 different schools there, Cooks Hill, probably can't think of the other names, and then I did my school certificate at Newcastle, the Home Science High, which was opposite Girls High, which was really good school. And I did my intermediate. So my schooling was a bit patchy because we moved so many times while Dad was in the war, and yes, but everything was pretty good. He only went as far as New Guinea, and even that was quite traumatic too. And then he became head of the Newcastle Air Force Club at Newcastle, which was really good. I suppose in a way I didn't see much because the war ended when I was 8, and I didn't see much of him all those 8 years because he was up there in New Guinea and training and doing whatever he had to do. Warrant officer he was for a while. And my mother was a home mother, like they had to be in those days. You couldn't be married and work or something. He didn't say much at all about it, but at the Air Force Club he met up with lots of his mates, I suppose. He wanted to be a policeman, but because he was married he couldn't become a policeman in those days. But all his friends are police, so he became the head of the Air Force Club at Newcastle, and he enjoyed that. When she was single, I think, she was a nurse at the mental hospital over at Stockton, which was, she found it very hard, but I don't know what other job she ever had, but she was a really good mother, very strict, and I had to make my bed every morning, like, you know, but she was, well, I had to have everything tidy and get off to school and do all of those things, which is okay. Yes, she was very good. We lived with her parents at Kerrie for quite a while, and then we kept moving to other relations at Newcastle, and then we moved, I can't remember the name of the places, but we moved quite a bit when Dad was in that, and so I didn't see a real lot of him. And I can remember when the war finished, when I was 8, I lived at Newcastle then at Parnell Place, and there was a park just over from that, and they used to have different fetes and things, and this day everyone were all jumping about, and as an 8-year-old nobody explained to you and me about the war. I do know before that, when I lived there, we had the lights blacked out, we had the sirens going at Newcastle, because this is right at the top of Newcastle where we were living at Parnell Place. So that was, I must have remembered that when I was younger with the, you know, the warnings of the war and things, and then it was all over that day and everyone was jumping about and excited. So I can remember that when I was 8 years old. That was good. think I used to pick on him a little bit, but he's turned out to be a beautiful brother, and he's a detective, so yeah, I'm very proud of him, and he was a good swimmer. We're all swimmers. My dad was a swimming champion, and my brother was, and sent overseas, and so I grew up in the surf, and that's my greatest love, the surf. So when I came to Hornsby Heights, I'm not a gardener. Everybody at Newcastle did. All the young people would go there and congregate there and get sunburnt and all that. You know, just every weekend. We'd go to the carnivals and everything because Dad was probably in them and my cousins and things. I did go to the one high school, yes. It was, and as I said, I got my intermediate. I was in the lowest class, I think, because I had struggled a bit, but I didn't like school much at all. It was a beautiful school there. They've closed all the private schools now. They're all co-ed. When I was 15, I think is when my father bought a house at Cahaiba at Newcastle, and we all moved there to Cahaiba, and then I got a job with Wynn's, the friendly store, which I got the sack because I talked too much. I was there for 1 year at Wynn's, and then I went to Stewart's and Lloyd's steel pipe industry at Mayfield, and that was a wonderful job. We had a uniform, and you weren't on the plant where all but they were such going industries, those BHP and Stewart's and Lloyd's. So I loved that and got on really well, and then I decided to go to TAFE and learn typing and shorthand. That was unexpected because at the high school was a cooking one, you know, I wasn't into that, so everything was going really good till I was at 17, and then I decided to come and live in Sydney with 2 girls that I worked with. Well, I loved music and I wanted to go to hotels and listen to the music, and because my mother and father wouldn't let me go, and I suppose it was getting a bit rough to sneak out or something if I wanted to do that. So I had gone to Cronulla accidentally one time. I had an auntie who lived at Canterbury, and this friend took me to Cronulla, and I just loved Cronulla. So I decided to tell the girls about it, and they decided to come and have a look. And then they decided to move there, and they said, well, come on, we've got 1 room left, you better. And I did, and they're like sisters for the rest of my life, these girls. We got on so well. Got a job straight away at Kodak as a typist in Sydney, even though it was at Cronulla, and the girls got a job straight away. Everything was just beautiful in those days, and I had the best years of my life, it seemed, there. It was lovely. But I didn't stay there always. I moved later on because I was there for about 10 years before I married. So I went from Cronulla to Rod Point for a while. I was still working Kodak, and I was flatting with girls in a house there which I didn't really get on well with. And then after that I went to Bronte with 2 girls there that were wonderful too. And Cronulla and Bronte were right near the beach. The flats would be worth millions today that I lived in, you know. I think the salt water's magic. I do believe in it. I think it's good. I had a little bit of psoriasis, you know, and that clears it off. I just believe in it. And catching the waves, I wasn't a real good surfer, but my father used to take me out as a really young person, and I felt safe and just swimming. And Kerrie loves it too. Kerrie, we all loved the swimming in the surf, not the pools, in the surf. I love all that. I love Sydney. I just loved it, coming all the way in. And Kodak was right in George Street, right there in the middle. And then they sold that up, and then they moved to Annandale. So I moved to Annandale. I just travelled to Annandale from Cronulla, you know, just buses and trains. And I wasn't driving or anything. I did have my driver's licence at Newcastle. I did go for one. Somebody, Mum paid for me to get my licence, but we didn't have a car, so I just hung on to it. Well, Mum came down and she helped me move. She bought me a dressing table and things like that. And Dad didn't mind. They'd come and visit me quite a bit. And my brother would visit me. So I was very close, and I'd take friends home for Christmas. You know, one of the girls would come home with me, and I just met so many people. And Cronulla was safe. I mean, I did smoke, started to smoke, but I didn't like drink very much. But there were no drugs then. Everything seemed to be safe, you know. I think it's changed today, and I think it's sad what the drugs are doing. And I think it's sad smoking too. But I'd given it up a long time ago now. But it was just fun. It was just going to they call them the kegs at the surf clubs and everything, you know. And I have been back. Kerrie took me back a couple of years ago again, and it's still beautiful. Cronulla, it's grown a lot now, but it's still beautiful. And Bronte's perfect. And all this time I was going to churches wherever I moved. I was going to Baptist churches mostly, because I have to go to church for me, I feel, and I just believe so much. I didn't really become full-time members or anything. I just would go everywhere I went. I'd still go, but I've changed now. I go to the Mormon church now. I've joined that, and my daughter, she went on a mission, and I thought, I never judge, because she said, do you want to come? And I said yes. And they've all embraced me and helped me so much. And it's a little bit similar to the Baptist church, but it's still got God there, and that's it, yeah. I think I was going through a bit of a tough time with Trevor, with my son, who's disabled. And I started to go to the other one further on, and then Kerrie said, oh, Mum, she said, I've met these missionaries, and would you like to meet some, because I'm thinking of joining. So that's why I decided to go along. And I met my husband through boys who lived in the flat next door, and my husband was a policeman, and we married about a year later, or 6 months or a year later, and just straight away we got on, and he was a policeman on a motorbike. He was a motorbike policeman, and of course that made him seem a bit grander to me, I suppose, at the time. We got on pretty well, and we had 3 beautiful children. John, Kerrie and Trevor, and then John, my son, died when he was 28 in a car accident. And Kerrie's perfect and beautiful, and Trevor is he's got cerebral palsy, and he's so good in a way because he's very normal. It's just his body, and he's in a wheelchair now, but he was always with crutches and stuff, and we went through. So I belonged to that then. I was involved with that, seeing him off on the bus, and I've been involved in all the school things and enjoyed it all. I mean, I didn't even know what spastic was in those days, and I'm going to keep calling it that. People say, call it cerebral palsy. No, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And people don't know what cerebral palsy is anyway. Yeah, we divorced. And he lives in Orange. And I did marry again for a very short time, but it didn't work out at all, so I divorced twice. And my husband comes up every Christmas for us. We're all good friends. There's no enemies anyway. He's still very involved with my family, with Kerrie and Trevor and myself. You know, he's been ringing me up to see how I am and everything. So he lives in Orange now. And he's also a musician. He was in the police band. He can do everything he's done. You know, he plays clarinet and saxophone, and we all love music, no sport. It's all music. And Trevor, my disabled son's learning singing. He's about 45 or something, I think. I'm not sure how old he is. And in the flat he has singing lessons still, which is good. As far as Kerrie's concerned, she's kind of the middle child. And there was John, who was a skinhead for a while, even though his dad was a policeman. But I said if they behave themselves, they can stay at my place overnight. That's all a front anyway, you know, this business. And they did sometimes, and they always respected myself. And John, they were his only friends. He went to Asquith Boys and he wasn't catching up or anything, but they were his friends. So they ended up his really good mates, and he's got a son who's about 25 or 26 now. He's beautiful. But when John died, he was only 5. There's Kerrie in the middle. You know, she just is marvellous. So I got her to learn singing and dancing, and she's still dancing. She started when she was about 5, and I'm very proud of her. But she's just super. I can't say enough for her because she treats me so well all the time, and never gives me any problems or anything like that, and she just helps out. And she did help the boys too, you know. She helps with Trevor because there's a boy been stealing his money, so we've got to have this, and it's all loaded onto Kerrie, and I just feel a bit embarrassed about all that. But he works 2 days a week at the Spastic Centre. But Kerrie, I'm so proud of her because she's got good work. She's a teacher at Knox, and she'd had good jobs before that, really good jobs, but then she went on a mission for her church to New Zealand, and 2 years just about that. You give up your work and you work hard and you don't get much money, and she's very proud of it, and I think she loved it too. She met lots of friends. So that's why we love the church. They're so kind to me all the time. They're coming in asking what they can do. So everything's turned out very well that way. I sum it up by being grateful for every day, the way I am at the moment too. But I do think that God's in my life and helps me, because if I'm upset, I pray, and I don't know if it helps or not, but it seems to. I think being a Christian helps me. That's how I sum it up. And it's no good having enemies. Look, we live in this beautiful country. We're so lucky. And I'm very political. As I said, I go to meetings, and who was that? Julie and Lisa and Matt Keane took me out to dinner to a French restaurant about 2 weeks ago. and I love them all. I like to go along. I like to listen to what they say, and then I judge, and I think he heard that I'd been a bit sick, so he just said, okay, take you out for dinner somewhere. And I don't know who told him that I love French. I like French food. There's not very many French restaurants now, but there's one at Linfield, so he booked it, and Julian came along too. I know both of them. I know Julian's wife, but I haven't met Matt yet. But they're both dads now. They've both got a little boy each, and I'm so proud of that. And but Matt, I've known him for years and helped him. I used to go and hand out all the elections. I'd be handing out the things and go to the meetings. I used to be a returning officer before I was a member. Then I couldn't be a member and do that. So I know the whole part of when you're voting, the whole lot about it. So I've been involved in Hornsby for years and years in the elections, but Matt just organised it, and Kerrie took me, and we had a lovely night. They gave me one snail. I had to dig out the little bit in the middle. It was salty. It was quite nice, but they were having a laugh. He rings up even now and says, how am I going? He's like a kind of a brother to me. We can talk about anything. Politics, I go rouse at him or whatever I think, and Julian's lovely too, and they're doing so much good, I think. Yeah, we can talk about anything. I've been a Pink Lady volunteer for 19 years, I think it is now. Because I had Trevor and I had to go up there, I couldn't get a real full-time job. So when I was at Newcastle at Stewart's and Lords, I did a bit of printing, machines, multilith. There was 16-year-old Jan this great big multi-machine printing, putting colour on the rollers and everything. Later on they said I was too young, I shouldn't have been doing it. But that started me off, and then when I came to Sydney I just thought, no, where was I doing the printing? I was getting all little jobs from Hornsby, that's right. And there were 3 places, one at Kookaburra Road and one in Hornsby. And I was doing the printing for the San Hospital and for the Royal Easter Show, 2 of the places. And when I say doing it, I was working a machine, I was collating, and just these small jobs, but good pay and everything. And that was getting me some money. They're all closed now, all those printing places. I'll tell you a quick story once. The one in the Hunter Lane at Hornsby, there's lots of men working there too. And one time one of the men came in, he put these nude photos up on the wall, and I thought, I can't have that, because sometimes Kerrie was at school and I think they'd come and pop in and see us at work, you know. And I said, I don't want that. I said, you take that down. He laughed at me. So when he went to lunch, I went and ripped it up. There were 2 of them, ripped them all up to bits and put them in the bin. And he went mad at me and he blew me up, but he didn't put any more up. If he had, I would have left. But that's me standing on. I was surprised I was so game to do it. Everyone thanked me, but I mean, he didn't do it again. So that's just a little aside story that I'm proud of anyway. So I was married about 24 years, I think, and then he left. And I had the 3 children then, so it was hard for a while. But I did, in the divorce, get my house, and he got the same because he's been in the police all those years. I don't know how I got through it. I know one time somebody said, are you going on a diet? I said, no, I can't eat. You know, I never told anybody much about him leaving me, I suppose. I was embarrassed. But you have to keep on going as a mother, I suppose. I don't know how well Kerrie and John were then, but they were really angry and said I wasn't allowed to take him back again anyway. But we're all good friends now. That's the best thing. Yep. For him to see Trevor and Kerrie. Yep. Hairdressing, I did. And I'm not a hairdresser, but I always loved to do it. I used to do when I was at Newcastle, neighbours' children's hair. So I took that on and do men's hair and ladies' hair and wash it. And it was really big time then at Hornsby Hospital. You could have a really nice dinner, almost like a baked dinner, and salads and things like that. Now you get a cup of coffee. That's about it. But I love Hornsby Hospital. But I just loved it, and you get so much back as a volunteer than you do with money. It's great. You make friends, and we're all our little group, Wednesday ladies, and we have Christmas. We'd have a Christmas party at one of the clubs one Christmas time. It's just a lovely family. It was good. Oh, I argue about politics a real lot. And I hate what happened in America because I like Donald Trump. I think he's done so many good things. I think he's done a lot. I don't agree with guns with any of the leaders there, but I think that he has done a lot of things. I can't say them off to you now, but he has done a lot of good things there, but no. And I do believe when he has a Bible that he has God in his life. I think communism is taking over the world. I'm really frightened because there's not enough Christians. I think that's a battle between Christians and that. That's what I believe. But we have people coming from those countries to my church, and they just say it's so good to be able to go to church here. I can't get over how my next door neighbours, they're even letting the dog out, and the other next door neighbour will bring me in a cup of coffee or something. So everyone have been so kind, you know. And because I'm ill, I'm getting gardeners and cleaners, and it's embarrassing, but it's kind, yeah. A lot of things that's going. They didn't realise all these groups and these young girls that come and help out. Because we've got 2 boys there too in my house with us too. And they're both, one's got autism and the other one's got anxiety. So they need a bit of care too. Yeah, I couldn't pray for a while. I didn't know how I felt. I didn't blame God or anything because it was one of those days when it rains at Epping. I think it was Epping somewhere. And it was travelling and he hit a pool of water and just hit an embankment. I mean, he was in a lot of traffic anyway. So I was grateful that nobody else was hurt and probably that it was straight away, but I was in shock for a while, quite a while. But I said to somebody, I can't pray. They said, don't worry, I'll pray for you. I don't know, it was a terrible shock, very, very upsetting because we all loved him, yeah. And the funeral was nice and all his skinhead friends came. They all came and they all nearly fought over who was going to carry the coffin. We did have him cremated, which I kind of believe in that. So, but they were just wonderful. It was a wonderful day, I felt, with all his friends were there. They came all the way from all over Sydney. She's doing dancing when she's about 5, I think, and still does, and has a concert at the end of the year, and tap and ballet, and she's wonderful. And singing, she's got a beautiful voice, but she's a bit shy to sing on her own. She sings in church, but not on her own now. She gets a bit too, she's got a beautiful voice. She was trained by a really good teacher in Sydney Harbour, a really well-known singing teacher there, so I'm so proud of her, yeah. I seemed to do everything I wanted. I did do a bit of deportment, a little bit of ballet, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But when I was real young, because we moved so many times, I couldn't do anything. I always wanted a horse. I love horse riding. I've got relations up near Lithgow. And whenever I went up there, I was always on the horses. And I said, I think I might marry a farmer, but never got past Sydney. So, but we're still in contact, and that was another best time of my life. Riding horses. I must have been about 13, 14 or 15. My grandfather took me there, and I looked around and he left me, and the next thing one of my cousins said, do you want to have a ride on a horse? I said, yeah. So he came out and he nearly fell over because he's been galloping up the hill on this horse, and I hadn't had any experience, but I just like, so after that every day I'd be out with the girls because they had to ride horses to bring the sheep in and stuff. And I loved the best holiday ever. And I did bring a little dog. They had all these dogs there in kennels, you know, poor things there. And one of them had a little pup that the mother didn't want, so I packed it up, put it on the train, took it to Newcastle. Mum nearly fell over. I said, I brought this dog home, you can't send it back. And I had another dog that followed me home, and she put him out and I brought him in. So I had 2 dogs in my life that I loved. So. No, my greatest love is swimming in the surf. So, and just life. Every day, I'm so grateful for every day. I thank God for every day. Because people don't realise how lucky we are in this country. Aren't we? We're so lucky. But my mother had a sister and 2 brothers, and they were always lovely family. And my father had, he's about 2 sisters, 2 brothers, I think, too. And we had a big reunion at Hornsby at the Blue Gum Hotel for the Scott family, which is my dad's cousins. And they're all up to about 70 and 80. And it was lovely. One of them's from Canada. She comes over at Christmas, and we all meet up there, all us oldies over there, and it was lovely. And the Mortons, one of them was 90, and we went up to Newcastle, had this wonderful night again. So my cousins are all still alive and going and enjoying life. And they look wonderful at Kerrie. Oh, I think having my babies would definitely be. Oh, I was so happy. When I had Kerrie, I was in labour and I didn't realise it. And I was dying to get into hospital, and when I had it, it was just perfect. With John it wasn't, because they didn't show me him, and it was a busy night and he was there crying and I was here, and I didn't see him till the next morning. So I learnt my lesson then for the next time. But when I had Trevor, he was 7 weeks premature, and he was in King George's Hospital or something like that. And I used to go in train, bus, to see him every day for 7 weeks when he was in hospital. Because I knew he was going to get out. They didn't think he was going to. But he's very good normally. His brain's good and he speaks well, and he's just a bit noisy, naughty sometimes, but he's working. He works at the specifics which he hates, and I understand that. But he's only working 2 days now with all this happening. And he's got his own flat. He won't live with others. But he has carers come in and get him off to work and get his meals. So everything's working quite well for him at the moment. How long it'll last, I'm not sure. I definitely think having God in your life, I definitely think that just appreciate what you've got. I think having my babies was the best. That's kindness, isn't it? It's being kind. That's what I think, be kind to people. But getting back to the boys, I always have to tell everybody that Christopher will often say to me, "You okay, Nan?" And that means a lot to me. Or he'll say, "Can I help you?" And he always shares things. And Sebastian, the other day, I wasn't around or something, he said, "Where's Nan?" I thought, oh, he doesn't remember me. But little things like that mean so much, you know. And Adrian's beautiful when I talk to him. He just can talk and talk on the phone, which is lovely. And he has come down a few times and visited, and he said he's going to come down and see me again too. So he's not married, but he's been living with a girl for a long time, so. But yeah, he's an only child, and well, no, he's got a sister. But he was 5 when his dad died. Oh, tell them that I always love them to death. I do love them all to death. I love them. And I just will pray that they hope that things will work out for them, that they'll be happy and enjoy life, and things will be good, because so we don't drink or don't smoke or any of that stuff now, and I hope they never get into drugs. I pray they won't get into drugs or any of that stuff, and just that I love them to death, that's all. I love them. Yep, thank you.